My name is Farah Mardini, and I'm again the celiac disease registered dietitian here at Stanford. And today I will be talking to you about the dietary treatment for celiac disease, which you've heard is the gluten-free diet. Here's our little outline for the next 10 minutes or so that we have together. So first, I'll do a little intro to the gluten-free diet, just as a refresher for those of us who know, and as background for those of us who don't. And then I will give you some tips to maintain a balanced and healthy gluten-free diet. And lastly, I will highlight some international gluten-free dishes from all over the world, just for some fun. And so why are we talking about the gluten-free diet today, and why is it so important? The gluten-free diet is the only treatment option that we know of for celiac disease, and it's a lifelong commitment. So if we just pause here and look at those 2 bullet points, you can imagine that this can come with a lot of stress, feelings, emotions, and other psychosocial stressors. And that's why I'm grateful that our social worker and psychologists were able to talk to you about that in more detail today. And also, a gluten-free diet, if untreated celiac disease, can lead to malnutrition, vitamin and mineral deficiencies, bone weakening, and other health conditions. So, what is gluten? Gluten is a protein that is found in wheat, barley, and rye. And as you can see, there are many different names, which I won't list all of them today. But just a note on oats is that oats are naturally gluten-free, but they are found in fields near wheat, and they can be made on shared machinery as wheat. So there's a high risk for cross-contact, and we recommend choosing gluten-free oats. And so the gluten-free diet requires having and developing skills, experience, lots of trial and error. And one of the skills that are important to build is label reading, so that you can identify some of the sources that we talked about, but also some other hidden sources like marinades, sauces, mixed spices, lip balms, even Play-Doh. Another thing that's important to keep in mind is avoiding cross-contact. And cross-contact can happen when a gluten-free food comes in contact with another food that has gluten, and therefore can become no longer safe for consumption of people of celiac disease. As you can imagine, this can happen at home if we're using shared pots and pans as other meals. It can happen at school, and this is why communicating with the school and working on accommodations is important. It can also happen when you're eating out, and that's why planning, researching, and more communication with the restaurant staff is super important as well, so that you can make sure that you're safe. And all of that to say, and in the light of our event today of empowering our gluten-free community, it is so important for me and a lot of our providers here to help our patients develop self-advocacy skills so that they can advocate for themselves, their needs, and live long and happy lives. And so now that we've figured out what's safe to eat and what's not safe to eat, another thing to keep in mind is how to maintain a healthy diet. So that you can get all the nutrients that you need to promote healing after a new diagnosis, but also so that you can prevent any vitamin and mineral deficiencies. And one thing to note is that we found that some gluten-free alternatives, when compared to other foods, may be lower in fiber, higher in salt, fat, and added sugars. They can be more refined and processed. They can also be more expensive, but that's just a side note. So my question is, can a gluten-free diet be nutritionally adequate? And the answer is yes, absolutely. A gluten-free diet can be balanced, can be complete, and here are some tips that I collected to share with you today. And so the first one is to remember all of the naturally gluten-free food options that we have. So that can be nuts and seeds, fruits and vegetables, legumes like beans, lentils and chickpeas, also fish, chicken, tofu, all of that. And then how many of us here remember or have seen the My Plate model shown here on the right? Some. Okay, good. You might have seen it at school school, in our clinic rooms. You might have heard me talk about it. It's really simple, visual, but what I like about it is I can talk about it to my 5-year-old patient. I can also talk about it to my 18-year-old patient, and we can all be speaking the same language, which is including fruits and vegetables, grains, which we will talk about in a little bit, protein foods like your meat, chicken, fish, tofu, beans, and lentils, and then dairy as well. And then my next tip is to diversify within each food group. So you might hear me or another corny dietitian telling you to eat the rainbow, and that is because each vitamin and mineral that has different colors have different vitamins and minerals that play different roles in your body. So make sure that you give them all equal love and attention. Then my last tip is to choose whole grains. I get a lot of families telling me on the gluten-free diet, can we eat anything other than rice? And yes, so whole grains that are gluten-free can be like quinoa, amaranth, buckwheat, millet, corn, gluten-free oats, and a few more as well. And if you're ever in doubt, you're not sure if you're meeting your needs, or you don't know how to incorporate one of the food groups, or you have, a selective eater at home, make sure you talk to your dietitian for some ideas. And then lastly, now that we've talked about, how to maintain a healthy diet, it's also important to maintain a healthy relationship with food. And one way to do it is by making sure that you come up with experiences that are memorable and exciting around food. Another way to do that is by making sure that you explore and you try different gluten-free meals from all over the world. So here I collected some to share with you today, but just to note is that ingredients can vary based on the recipes that you choose. They can also vary in different restaurants, so make sure that you read your labels, make sure that you communicate with restaurant staff that you go to. So this won't include every country from every continent, but here are just a few. In Asia, and specifically in South Asia, there are different curries with different ingredients and spices, tandoori, and also chickpea dishes. In the Middle East and Greece, there are kebabs, which are the Mediterranean barbecue, falafel, which is also made from chickpeas, and mahshi, which is stuffed vegetables, and they're stuffed with rice, beans, cooked in tomato sauce. Very delicious. In South America, and specifically in Latin America, there are many dishes that are made from corn, plantains, yuca. Also, don't forget about dessert, very important. And also in Africa, I just wanted to highlight a few that have doughs that are made from very unique ingredients. So in Ethiopia, there's this fermented flat dough that's made from teff. And in Ghana, there's a dough that's made from boiled and pounded starches like yuca, cassava, or yams. In my ideal world, we would have at least 30 more minutes to talk about your favorites from all over the world. But for the sake of time, so that you can enjoy the rest of the event, I will leave you here. Again, thank you so much for being here, and happy Celiac Disease Awareness Month.